So welcome back, everybody. Who would like to share what stood out for you as you heard the stories? What resonated for you? And then we're going to, once we just hear a few of your comments, and then we're going to move into the core questions of the dialogue. And James is going to moderate that part. Does anyone want to share what really stood out for you? What surprised you? What excited you? What worried you? Yes, right here. And if you could say your name, please, that would be great. So
Me?
Yes, sir.
Right. My name is Pastor Andrew Mutuma, originally from Kenya. Was I listening, just sharing with my sister, when I was listening to 4 speakers, to me, the two turned out to be almost one the same. That is a speaker from Uganda and a speaker from Iraq. They're trying to bring up what they have gone through, what they have seen. But the speaker from Palestine and Israel, he should bring up what you call peace building in terms of films, in terms of setting an example. Or then the speaker and the husband says it's not really difficult. It's difficult to relate the same on the ground. And but whereas the last speaker, the third speaker who comes from Nepal, to me it was more relating to what I am here. The diaspora is workable. Diaspora can be a vessel which can be, if properly structured, can relate to the ground. He was trying to bring up the issue they're doing in Nepal and how they're relating intercontinentally, and which can make a difference in people on the ground. And to me, the meaningful of diaspora is an organization that can bring the change from the ground, not the change from where I am here. Because here I'm okay. Why we are here is because of our background. And we want to make the difference as we pull together our minds in this hall. Thank you.
Yeah, did you want to say something there? Yeah.
Yeah, my name is Kombi. I'm here for African Great Lakes. I support Pastor Andrew, and my concern is, this is my first time to come here. I say thank you for arranging this, but my question is, we don't know exactly where you started, where you have reached, and where you are going. How can we be informed so that when we come in, we can feed? Another thing is, when we look at the 4 people who have been here, it's like somebody is talking about that pain that she went through when she was in Uganda, or the people who were in Uganda, the pain that they went through. When we look at that, the problem, we talk about Uganda, then I'll say Kenya, then I'll say Tanzania. How can you, SFU, and any other person who is involved, help us talk about on a continental approach? I'm talking about Africa. Africa with different people, different tribes, different food, different dancing, different everything. 55 countries. Are you telling us that we are going to look at Kenya? Which problem do you have? Come here, we help you. Or are you arranging something like we look at Africa as a whole and then say, what is it that we need to do now? This is big Africa with 55 countries. What is it that is really very urgent that we need to do? But before we get there, is there anything that you have put across that we can hold on and say we are talking about Africa, not Kenya, not Uganda, not, because you can never compare Africa continent with Nepal. You may not compare African continent with Iran. So what is it SFU, with other organizations, the people who are doing this, what is it that you have come together to help us form an African united, or a united Africa, so that we can work on that point? Thank you.
Let's hear from a few more people. Thank you very much. That's a really interesting question. Yes, you had your hand up.
Good evening. I'm Min Garcia. Just to add to the ground truthing, or to contribute to the ground truthing around the question of how do we effectively or meaningfully engage the diaspora? What are the challenges? I think one of the questions that I'd like to add to the questions that have been raised is why do we engage, or what is it that motivates us to engage the diaspora? And where that question comes from is from two places, one from the Philippines, another one from Afghanistan. I think from a Philippine standpoint, engaging the diaspora for peace advocacy, specifically to be able to contribute to destigmatizing Muslim Filipinos in the country is very effective. There's a space for it. It's very fertile. The diaspora of the Filipino community, as you know, is very, very large and strong everywhere. So there is a place for actually, engaging. On the other hand, there are sensitivities for a country like Afghanistan. And the question that we experience in Kabul, for example, in why do we engage the diaspora is from an Afghan perspective, a very, very sensitive perspective. And the question that's being asked is, why are they coming back to the country when we stayed here, we being the Afghans, have stayed here through the war, and the diaspora is coming in a more privileged context, in a more elitist, level. So there's sensitivity there, and I think the fragmentation is not within the diaspora only, but it's also between the diaspora and the local actors. And I support what our colleague and our friend is saying about, peace building working from within a country, and maybe the diaspora can provide bridges between two countries, something that I personally experienced when I went back to the Philippines from Canada, from Vancouver. But it's not so much that I came back because, I'm a diasporic Filipino-Canadian, but rather because I can contribute to the program in the Philippines, and I happen to be able to bridge. So some questions that we need to ask ourselves: what motivates us to actually engage the diaspora? Just to add to the other questions that's been raised. Thank you.
And we've got two people over there who would like to go first. James, or?
Thank you, Joanna, for giving me this opportunity. I have two quick questions, and the first one, I'd like to echo back what Dr. James Busumti said in terms of the divisions and fragmentations within the diaspora. And that's not a new thing, and I think that from our history, we can tell that there's been a lot of competition in terms of the different diaspora groups. So maybe there needs a new conversations of how the diaspora can come together towards, working for the same common goal. And maybe as we engage in those conversations, are there any best practices that could be identified that have worked in terms of the diaspora engagement and diaspora coming together as one? And the next question I'll direct to Rina Lazar from Piece It Together. And thank you very much for sharing about your project. It's very inspiring. And the only question I have is that it's very challenging to bring two groups of people that have taken positions in terms of conflict, and they have a big history of hatred. So I was just wondering, what are some of the practices or approaches have you used to let them drop the positions they have and just flow in the dialogue in an open heart and open mind as they work towards building peace? Thank you.
That could be a very long answer. It's a 4-week program, so but we spend the first 7 to 10 days on what we call dialogue and creative exploration. There's a variety of different tools, from some of the trust building exercises you saw, but that, which were physical, to setting the agreements in the room like we did earlier today when we started this conflict. But I think the bottom line is they live together for 4 weeks, and actually even after 2 or 3 days, you see a huge difference in what happens between these youth. We've done that. This is our fourth time doing a program like this, and I know the stories are that when they first get together, these Israelis and Palestinians, sleeping in the room together sometimes is one of the scariest things. They can't believe they're going to close their eyes in the dark in a room with the other, and yet when they look back on that, even 24 or 48 hours later, they just can't believe how ridiculous that is. So that you're right. There's absolute fear, but because they come here where it's sort of neutral, but to them it's very neutral, and it's safe from a security perspective. We typically take them somewhere rural where we don't even lock doors because there's no need to. So it's a really safe environment. They also have fun together. Actually, today was it today? Sorry, I'm confused what date it is. Yesterday. They spent the whole day at Whistler. The Whistler Black Home gave us free passes for them to go up to the top and take the peak to peak. And I didn't join them, but of course I saw all the video footage we took. And they were singing and laughing, and there's lots of snow up there, throwing snowballs at each other. And when they arrived back, this was just one day that I didn't see them, it was a different group. It was a very, very together and close group. And also the particular lodge we're staying at, it's one building, so they're actually sharing a home, like as opposed to sleeping in tents or sleeping in different pavilions. They're actually sharing a home, so and eating together. So there's many exercises, and I'd be very happy to tell you there are no secrets, but it will take a long time to describe them here, so we can talk about that another time. Thanks.